All right, being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So Nicole, our city manager, is delayed, and so she'll be joining us virtually or by phone. We're not sure which way, but she'll be joining us. Also, we have Carmen Matthews, Councilor Matthews, that's going to be virtual. So there's some items on the agenda that I'm going to rearrange, and some I'm going to take off, and a couple I'm going to ask the council for direction. So before we get started, first item on the agenda, 5A, is the ballot title. Our city manager, Nicole, wants to weigh in on it, and rightfully so. So we're going to move that to 5H. And 5H, consideration of change to city manager's salary. She's not here this evening, so we're going to take that off, and we'll move that to September 3rd. The other item that I'd like us to discuss, how to move forward on that for consideration tonight, they're under action items. That's 5D and 5E. 5E is consideration to create a Parks Commission fact-finding committee for bicycle and pedestrians. And 5D is consideration to approve the bike improvements facility project design from Front Street to Mingus Park. So I read the staff report on that, and I think both these items should be moved to August 27th, our work session. It's going to take more discussion. Also, I don't know if the staff got notification from Nicole about the Parks Commission regarding pursuing the next phase on this. There's some discussion on that staff has and some consideration that needs to be thought about. We're looking at $160,000 minimum on this cost. I know that we do have bike money available for it, gas money for bike lanes, but also they were talking, if you looked into the report, you talked about maybe a light and then also a new pole. That's not in that consideration for those costs. Also, I have some concerns about where they're going across on Market. Down there, it's dangerous already to come across Front and 101 onto Market with a car. So I think that we need to just evaluate these things a little bit more in depth. But this is going to be for the council to decide if that's the direction you want to go. I think there's some items that we need to discuss a little bit further before we continue on with it. So that's my pitch for 5D and E. And so I'd like to see how the council feels. And we also have Jennifer here that can weigh in. But, I'd advise, I think this takes more time. On top of it, when we do this, there's going to be some parking. We're talking about also return paths on the bike path on commercial. I think that's another consideration I'm concerned about, how that's going to be done. And when we do this, we're taking off some parking. I think we also need to have a public hearing on this because we're going to affect some businesses and some other entities that I think we need to have their way in. So they need to be notified, and I think that this should be involved. Anyway, that's my pitch. So council, how do you like to weigh in?
Mayor Benetti, I think you stated almost all of it very thoroughly and completely. I'm in support of that. I think we talk a lot about having the fullness of time and making sure that those who need to be informed are informed before we can make a decision. I also have concerns about the committee. I thought that we'd heard that in previous conversations that would be more work on the staff, so I would like to get more information. And Nate, maybe you can give us some information on that in terms of that additional committee.
I can do it at this time, or I can do now.
Could you do it twice?
I can. Oh, sure, I can do that too.
Thank you.
Okay. Basically, we've gone through this. As long as it's simply a fact-finding committee, and it's not giving any advice or recommendations, just getting the facts, presenting the facts, and then the commission would weigh in on what that means and make recommendations to you. Then there does not have to, it's not a public meeting, doesn't have to fulfill all those requirements. So it would be a minimal impact on staff time. but it has to be simply fact gathering.
Okay,
and
great.
Presenting it to the Parks Commission.
Great, I appreciate that feedback. I still stand by, I'd rather have the fullness of time with all the information so we can make the best decision, so.
And, you know, I understand that this has taken quite a long time. And it's not that I don't support, and I don't believe this council doesn't support bike paths. We do. We already took action out in Empire to do that. But we had a plan in place to be able to have that happen. We've also done it on Front Street. So it's not that we don't want it or don't support it. And we've even done it on Ocean Boulevard. I'd like to see it all the way continued and connected. But it's trying to make sure that we do it reasonably, safely, and I think we need to think about this. If we make a motion or make an action, then we're going to have to, that we have to back up and change, that's going to be even of a worse situation. So I'd like to make sure we get it right the first time. Anyone else?
I would agree with you, Mr. Mayor, and I think we also need to consider the financial end of it.
Jennifer, you want to weigh in?
Well, just for clarification, there is no work session in August. It's been canceled, so the next work session would be September. And we're fine with that, if that's
Great.
what you guys would like.
Okay.
I'd agree with the listening session. I think if we're going to impact parking downtown and the businesses, we need a listening session.
Anyone else? Okay, that being the case, we'll continue.
This gives time for the Downtown Association to present that to their board and
Yep.
get that out to, I see that the Main Street manager is online, get that out to their membership and other businesses.
Yeah, I just think that we need to have other people weigh in. This has come before us before, and then we had some pushback, and then we had to do a reevaluation, and even though we had a report from a consultant, so I just want to make sure that we go ahead and do this right. Harv, did you want to make a comment? No, you agree? All right. Hearing anyone else? Okay, we'll postpone these two items to the future in September, and we'll see how staff can put that all together. All right, that being the case, we're going to go to public comments, and this evening is the first item on the agenda. So citizens wishing to address the City Council during this time set for public comments are requested to sign the roster, which they have done. The public comment period is intended for the public to share ideas and concerns. It is not intended for the interaction discussion with the council. There may be opportunities for public comments during specific agenda items that require public hearing. Members of the public are requested to confine their remarks to questions or issues under discussion during this time. During any designated comment period, individuals shall not engage in personal attacks, shall not impugn the motives of any speaker, or shall, at all times, while in session, conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. No person shall make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or unauthorized remarks or become boisterous while addressing the council. Luke Taylor, you're the first item on the agenda or item. Luke Taylor. And what's your address?
I live in Fairview, but I'm the president
Okay.
of the Coos Bay Professional Firefighters Association.
Oh, no, that's great. Just Fairview's great. All right, thank you.
So I'm here to talk about the consent calendar, paragraph E. I thought I
Yes.
was going to have more time, so I've kind of paraphrased this. I know there's only 3 minutes, so
Well, but it's also an agenda item further down below, so if you'd like to have that discussion later on in the agenda, we'll be glad to give you more than 3 minutes.
okay, sure.
Okay, we'll do
All right,
that.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Luke. Mike?
Good evening, Mike Powder from Empire and Bike Advocate, or whatever I am. I'm here tonight. There's a big bike event going on in Empire, and we're giving away tons and tons of bikes, getting people excited about them. So we're doing all we can to give people a safe bike community, which is what we really need. So I just want to let everybody know, so a lot of people would have made it tonight if they hadn't have been there, but they had full support for the consent calendar number 3B, safe routes to school, which is on the agenda still, and the other two that were postponed, D&E. The bike community is very interested in seeing how that goes along. So that's about it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Dean?
Hey, Dean Lundy, 100 Newmark. Thank you all for putting up with us, pounding this bike thing. I would like to talk about the Sharrow thing from Front Street up to Mingus Park. It's 1 block away. We all know it. There's parking. There's tons of parking for the commercial properties that are there. The Front Street Community Bike Works has walked it or biked it 100 times. If we can just kind of streamline that right-hand side of that street, that's my view on that. I would like to appoint myself or volunteer for the fact-finding busybody. Tomorrow night at the Marshfield High, we have shamed or asked the ODOT, or they're going to be there. So this would be a great place for anyone interested in transportation in this area to show up, and because they are the people that have the money, lots of our money, you know, from the tax, gas tax, they've got the money, and if we can keep the pressure on them, we can get the whole town refreshed. As a nosy do-it-all, you know, a self-appointed fact finder, I got the complete plans. I think some of you heard me. I got the plans, the final plans of the reconfiguration of Reedsport that used to be really ugly through there, and now it's beautiful. I mean, how long that paint with the glass in it, I don't know, will last, but we're working on the resurrecting this big idea. They worked on this. I'm just picking it up. I'd like to read it. These wonderful people in the community in 2017 worked on this. The big idea, this is the Coos Waterfront Walkway.
1 minute.
The Coos Waterfront Park and Walkway will create a sense of place on the bayfront in downtown Coos Bay and North Bend, Oregon, by providing recreational opportunities, improved access to the water, and the opportunity to observe a working waterfront. The park and walkway concept will improve the quality of life for our community, promote a healthy lifestyle, contribute to a sustainable economy, and attract outside visitors to this beautiful place. Anyway, that's what we're working on is the 101. And Teakwood needs, and the question about the light at Market Street, that will be part of this thing. That is not an easy deal. That's a 5-year deal to get a light there. But the Sharrow up commercial to Ocean, that's a no-brainer. On the right-hand side, back and forth on the same side. Anyway, we'll see you all at the Marshfield. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dean. So we had some new people walk in. Just want to let you know we have public comments, which is at the beginning. If you'd like to make a public comment, this would be the time to do it. I know you haven't had time to sign in the register, but you're more than welcome to if you'd like. All right. That being the case, I'll close the public hearings. And Dean is correct. There is going to be an ODOT meeting tomorrow. Jim's going to be there. I know I'll be there for a period of time. Councilor DeNovo will be there for a period of time. So, yeah, this is a time for ODOT. And Jessica, you going to be there also? Jennifer, excuse me. Okay, and Greg. All right. All right, so that being the case, the next item is the consent calendar. Council?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as submitted. I just want to make a few comments. There's an $8,000 grant in here for the library. There's also a $100,000 grant in here for the fire station on HVAC. Jeff, thank you. I think you're the one that, did Jeff apply for that grant? Nope. Somebody. Mark?
It was actually one of our other battalion chiefs, Jason
Okay.
Gunther, that applied for that grant.
Great. Oh, but Jeff did apply for the $1.543 million grant for some personnel. Mark?
That's correct, and I believe Luke Taylor would like to speak on that if you give him a moment.
Absolutely. We got you up and down, don't we, Luke?
Luke Taylor, I'm president of the Coos Bay Professional Firefighters Association. City Council and Mayor, first I would like to thank you for your time for allowing me a few minutes to talk. It is no secret that our profession is inherently dangerous. It is also no secret that understaffed fire departments only make the situation worse. Over 20 years ago, we had more staffing than we do today, and we ran significantly less emergencies. During that time, we had 3 more firefighters overall. Over the past 10 years, our call volume continues to grow, while our personnel have decreased. Our current minimum staffing level is 4 total career firefighters, 2 career firefighters on each engine. Now, I assume all of you guys live within our response area, everybody here. Now imagine quite possibly the worst day of your life and your primary residence is burning. Much like today, we have 2 career firefighters on each engine that we're at minimum staffing. In our industry, we have to follow OSHA. OSHA has a regulation known as 2 in and 2 out. What this means is that if we show up to a structure fire with 2 firefighters, we cannot make entry into the structure until a minimum of 2 more properly trained firefighters arrive on scene. There's one exception to that regulation, and we can make entry when there is a confirmed human life still inside the structure. So this evening, if something happens in Empire, they have to wait for Station 1 to get there. They're going to do the best that they can to slow that fire down, but they still have to wait before they can make entry unless someone's inside. Our members understand that the cards are stacked against them when we leave our fire station with only 2 career firefighters on the engine. This is why we pride ourselves on our training and commit to it daily. As you are aware, some of our members have been recognized recently with their on-scene actions. In our 2022 annual report, 2,890.5 total hours of overtime was worked between our 12 members. The average was 240 hours per member. Also in that report, we compared our agency to 6 other agencies based on population, call volume, number of line staff, and calls per firefighter. The 6 other agencies were North Bend, Astoria, Newport, Western Lane Fire Authority, North Lincoln Fire and Rescue, and Roseburg. We were second in population to Roseburg. We were also second in overall call volume, once again, to Roseburg. We were 4th for number of line staffing, with Newport, Astoria, and North Bend below us. Calls per firefighter, we were first amongst everybody with 300 calls per firefighter. As you can imagine, some conversations were had as we realized how much work we were doing compared to other close jurisdictions. As much as we wish that there was a beautiful money tree sitting right outside of City Hall, we know that that's just not practical. That is when we learned of the Oregon Firefighter Apprenticeship Program. We contacted President Carl Koenig with Oregon State Firefighters Council and inquired information on the program. After multiple conversations, it was determined that Coos Bay would be a good host agency. Our e-board presented the information to city management. Both parties agreed that this is too good to not take advantage of. And here we are today. With that, I assume you guys have reviewed some of the details, but we will get 5 apprentices for 2 years. They have no training, just fresh off the street, but they will be paid during that apprentice time. Let's see. They will help make our city safer for a maximum of 2 years. After the 2 years, we lose them forever unless legislation changes during that time frame. Local 2935 has presented a temporary solution to the city to provide adequate staffing, which results in making the city of Coos Bay a safer environment for everybody. We would love to be able to keep all 5 apprentices after 2 years. However, we know that's a big ask. At a minimum, we ask for a way to try to find a way to retain at least 3 of them and provide a full-time career position at the end of their program. We know that's not going to be an easy task, but that's something we're willing to work with you guys. I don't know if that means we got to go collect every pop can so we can make it happen, but we're willing to try. Not only would this bring our line staffing back to what it was over 20 years ago, it allows for us to get closer to being able to be adequately staffed and potentially not have to wait for that second crew to arrive before we can make entry. It makes the scene safer for us, but more important, it makes the city of Coos Bay safer for our citizens. It also provides us multiple trained hands on those significant medical calls such as cardiac arrests. Please consider our proposal. We look forward to working as a team and collaborating on making this happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Definitely, the safety and having more firefighters is definitely something that I think that we all would hope and wish for. If we could keep all 5 on for some way they can make that happen, I would be glad to go out and collect bottle cans and with you also. So that being the case, totally understand. I appreciate your comments. It's definitely a consideration that we need to think about. Safety comes first with you, and it's definitely important. Unfortunately, costs have got in our way, PERS, that it's just phenomenal, and insurance. And I don't know the way around it, but we're going to keep looking for it. There's got to be maybe a possibility. And I commend you for getting this. This is wonderful. It's a 2-year situation, even though you have to train them. I remember Caleb Owens he worked for me at the restaurant, waiting tables and bussing tables, and he ended up, now he's a full-time firefighter and doing a great job. So hopefully we can fill that position or a position with some of these guys. So anyway, thank you very much. Any other comments, anyone? All right, that being the...
Sorry, I did.
Yes, of course, Troy.
Luke, is this a repeatable? So every 2 years you get to this is a one-time thing?
One-time thing as of right now, unless something changes.
Okay, thank you.
No, it'd be nice if they did. So this was through the legislature that we were able to cover this? Okay.
There's, it'll now be us, Umatilla, Klamath Falls, and Cool Valley.
Okay. Well, good. Anyway, I commend you guys again. Thank you.
Mayor Benetti, I have a question for the chief, given the presentation that we just received. In those situations where we need 2 additional firefighters to arrive on scene, do we ever work with the city of North Bend in those instances to assist?
We do. We have we have mutual aid agreements with every department within the county. We oftentimes will call for assistance from North Bend, and we recently entered into an automatic gate agreement with Charleston Fire District. So for any working structure fire, they come without us even having to ask. So they come automatically, which it really speeds up that response time. It's one way we've done a workaround, and while I've got the microphone, I'm just going to use it. I just want to just piggyback on what Luke said. We're just really ecstatic about this grant opportunity, $1.6 million to get us 5 extra people for 2 years. Yes, we have to train them, but we're excited about that. The other thing too is that this particular grant focuses on reaching out to those people that are not typically represented within the fire service. If you look around the fire service, other than on TV, but the fire service in the United States is primarily white males, like 97%. And this particular grant, while it doesn't focus solely on women, minorities, and veterans, it certainly encourages those 3 underrepresented groups to apply, and so that we can have our workforce look more like our community.
Thank you.
So it was mentioned by Luke that you were acknowledged as fire department, and I think it was a video that, isn't it nationally, how you did a fire? Am I correct about that?
I think what he was referring to was, I think last month, we recognized 7 of our staff with Distinguished Service
Right.
Unit Citation for the Life Saving Award. I think that's what he was referring to.
Okay. Anyway, congratulations. Thank you. All right. Other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Presentations this evening. Coastal Families Relief Nursery presentation. So it's my honor to have Eric Porter make a presentation about this. I had the opportunity to see their operation, and it is something that is definitely very unique and special, and if we can expand on this, I think it'd be wonderful. And and I would encourage everyone to take time and go down and see the operation. I think Sarah's familiar with it. But anyway, Eric? Kevin?
Evan.
Evan.
So
Sorry.
close.
I don't have that in here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Evan Porter. I'm the Executive Director of Coastal Families Relief Nursery. I'm going to keep this pitch very short. I'm just going to give you a real quick overview of what we do. I did pass around brochures that has all of our information as well as my contact information stapled inside. There's not a specific ask today. I'm not here to ask you for money or a building or anything. I just want to make sure that everybody in our community knows about the program that we're offering. For anybody in the audience, I also have cards with me, so if you know of anybody close to you that could benefit from this program, please stop me on your way out. I would love to share more information. The Relief Nursery model is, in its essence, a child abuse and neglect prevention program. It's a model that was started in Springfield, Oregon in the 70s, enjoyed about 20 years of success, and spread out throughout the state of Oregon. There are 16 relief nurseries throughout the state of Oregon with 32 individual sites. And so we have this wealth of information of how this program is successful. And we had some amazing community partnerships come together to make this happen. Judith Ann Mogan Foundation put money up front, partnered with United Way as a financial backbone, and Emmanuel Episcopal Church offered space for us to come in and put this together. We've been working on this for about 2 years, and we opened our classrooms in September of last year. So the natural question is, what is a relief nursery? And it is not plants, I promise. It is kids. At its core, we want to work with the kiddo and the parent equally. And we do that through a number of means. We do it through our therapeutic classroom model, where we have a very high ratio of adults to kiddos, so we can give that one-on-one attention time to those kids. We like to tell our new parents it's a place where kids are allowed to misbehave. We want them to bring all their behaviors so we can teach them how to negotiate those. We do parent education. In terms of home visiting, as well as in the near future, we will be holding parent education classes. And we do outreach where we're serving not only the Coos County, not only the Coos Bay area, which is where we currently are, but we'll be able to reach out to those outer communities, Bandon, Myrtle Point, Coquille. One of my favorite services that we provide, we call the Care Closet, and we provide diapers, wipes, clothes, cleaning products, hygiene supplies, and food to any enrolled family that we have. This program is 100% free for our residents. We have a limited caseload due to staffing, and we go based off of a stressor qualification as opposed to an income qualification. So even those families that both are working that don't traditionally qualify for a lot of the other programs around, they can still qualify with us. It is also completely voluntary. So we want to work with those families that are struggling, that know they need help, and we're there for that. We are a completely private nonprofit. We are not attached to any government agency, so we have a lot of flexibility on how we can assist families. Anything from our core services to being able to purchase them a dryer or a pair of tires if they need that transportation piece. One piece that gets me really excited is the amount of money we're able to bring in to Coos County. We do have a grant through the state of Oregon. So we are bringing in a little over $300,000 a year in from Salem directly to our county, as well as the grants that we operate with. The state covers about 1/3 of our budget. The rest is through grant writing and private donations. So we have a lot of opportunity with a lot of community partnerships that we are exploring and want to continue to do so. If anybody has any interest, like I said, please reach out to me. You all have all my contact information. Please don't be a stranger. I'd love to give you a tour. If anybody would like a tour, I would love to give you one, but please reach out to me because we do have kiddos in the building. It is not a stop-by basis situation. At this time, I'd like to open up if anybody has any questions, comments, anything I can help answer today.
Council?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes.
How many families are you currently serving?
Currently, I have 14 families. We are in the process of hiring our outreach worker, which will increase our caseload to 15. At that point, we're going to stabilize our program to ensure we'll be around for the long term, and then we'll be looking at expansion.
And in terms of expansion, what would be the next step? Is that 30 families? Is that 45 families?
So that's an exciting question because we don't exactly know. The
Okay.
relief nursery model, we can either look at finding a new physical site and expanding our staff to serve more families within Coos Bay, or look at the option of satellites where we keep a smaller center in Coos Bay but open up a satellite in Bandon, or in Myrtle Point down into Curry. So we have a handful of options for expansion. We're keeping all options open at this time.
So you mentioned also, this has been really successful in Springfield and began in the 1970s. It would be great if, I know we have all the information here, but I don't know if you know this on the top of your head, so I apologize for asking a pointy-headed question. But do we know how many since the 1970s, how many families have been served? And you spoke to the child abuse, and so how many families have we retaught? Maybe I'm not saying that correctly, but to help avoid child abuse.
It's a really good question. I do not have the quantitative number. What I can tell you, based on over the last 30 years, we do have a percentage that 93% of families who take part within Relief Nursery do not enter the child welfare system.
Thank you.
Troy?
We don't want you to leave our space, Evan, so thanks for...
I got you.
Secondarily, what's your referral source? I mean, how do families find out about it?
Great question. So we initially partnered with our Early Learning Hub to access those families that are on wait lists for Head Start and other programs. Since then, it has largely been word of mouth from our currently enrolled families. We also have, it is, to make a long answer short, self-referral. People can access us phone, email. We have an interest form on our website, as well as we are connected with the majority of our community partners to have families be able to access us.
So this is typically pre-Adult Protective Services intervention?
In a perfect world, yes. We want to get to families before there's any involvement within Child Protective Services, so we can help support those families so that that never happens. If they have had involvement or are in involvement, that does not preclude them from support.
Do you guys have a social worker on staff?
Not directly, but we have a really strong relationship with our local ODHS office.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Other comments? So Evan, if I remember correctly, this staff that you have is really specialized. This is not, they had a special talent they need to be able to fill these positions. It's not just a regular teacher or whatever else. There's a little bit more that goes with this, right? So it's a little bit difficult to find the staff?
It is. So our teaching staff, we are not only certified as an Oregon child care center through the state, we also have to get certification through the Relief Nursery Network. Long and short, early education goes through a process called ORN, the Oregon Registry Online, and there's different step levels. To be a daycare provider, you need to be, if I'm not mistaking, a step 6. We have to be step 10. And so our teaching staff are not just teachers. I mean, they are, in a sense, therapists for these kiddos. They need to be there to help them understand their feelings, what's going on. Those teachers are also the home visitors for those same families. So those teachers are making an impact with the kiddo in the classroom as well as with the parents in their home.
Yeah, I think it's important that they're not just there in the school themselves, they also go to the home, which is unique, and help interact with the families, if I understood correctly. Right. And Evan is volunteering to do this besides his regular job, and the board is the same way. So I really commend you, and this is a unique situation, and I just hope that you have all the success in the world, because it means a lot of kids will be taken care of and their needs will be fulfilled. So anyway, I can't advocate anyone, just go and check it out if you haven't. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. Next presentation is the Oregon State Marine Board. Yes, going to Greg Hamblett. Is the Oregon Marine Board here?
Yes. I'll be happy to introduce him.
Please do, Jim. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, you're well aware of the loss of the east side boat ramp temporarily, but Greg and staff have worked hard to get that thing back up and running. And the Oregon State Marine Board staff member here is Josh Takini.
Good job.
And he's here to present a challenge coin in recognition of their efforts in getting the boat ramp back open and operational.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Director
Great.
Hosley.
You're going to join us up here? Well, yes. I guess.
And thank you,
Anyway,
Mayor
continue on. Yes.
Benetti and Council President DeNovo and the remainder of the city council. As Jim stated, I am Josh Takini. I'm with the Oregon State Marine Board. I'm the state's engineer for recreational boating facilities. I'm here to deliver to Greg the challenge coin that our board member, Val Early, presented to him via Zoom on our July 24th board meeting for the reasons laid out in your staff report. And I'd like to say that above and beyond those reasons, Greg and his crew have been very mindful of boaters by recognizing that we had multiple area facilities that have been impacted here recently. Those, I guess, as far back as 2 years ago when we met. That the multiple area facilities that were requiring repairs, and Greg and his staff were able to prioritize the work to the greatest benefit of the recreational boating public. That, with that in mind, I'm proud to deliver this Oregon State Marine Board Challenge Coin.
Thank you.
To the city, Coos Bay, Greg, and all your staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Craig?
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, we couldn't have done it without the support of Oregon State Marine Board. My staff, we worked tirelessly on the East Side Boat Ramp fiasco that we found ourselves in. Staff, like Josh alluded to, we were able to prioritize the needs of the boaters in the Coos Bay area. Staff worked with the city of North Bend to get their docks repaired before our docks were repaired, knowing that our piles had to be replaced to get the boaters back in the water sooner rather than later. We were able to get 3 of our floats back in the water to be able to be used during high tide situations only, because they're really useless during low tides. However, we were able to provide that option for them as well. That, and then also working with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, working with Department of State Lands, getting those relationships and getting those partnerships and getting those permits done in a timely fashion. Oregon State Marine Board getting the plans written and getting the specifications, and staff just really getting everything put together so quickly. It was just really nice to see it all come together. So thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and what a great effort. I can tell you that this council, all of us, and I'm sure staff, and you heard the same thing. We need that, we need it, and today, in fact, individual at Rotary, Jim Layport, asked me when it was going to open, and I said, it's open. So anyway, thank you so much for all your efforts and your hard work. Thank you for coming down and making the presentation. Come back and visit. And anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Nicole has joined us virtually, and so if anyone has comments for her along the way, she's here to answer them and give us in the right direction. Okay, next item on the agenda is the action items. And so as we know, we moved A down to H, and so the next one is consideration to adopt a resolution 24-25 appropriating library and fire grant funds received. Melissa?
Good evening. Staff is recommending adoption of resolution 24-25 to appropriate all these grant funds that we originally did not budget for. This will help appropriate these mostly unexpected grant funds that we received, so everybody can have fun.
I just want to say that the grants that we have received recently are phenomenal. These grants total $1.653 million, almost 1.7. And also, we just got another $1.5 million grant for the East Side Fire Station to seismically upgrade it. So over $3 million the staff has gotten in grants in just the last couple months. And so I think they really need to be commended for that. A lot of hard work goes into it. Besides them doing their daily jobs, they also are writing grants to get these things. So I really want to thank staff for that. Really appreciate it. So with that the case, staff, council, how would you like to proceed with Resolution 24-25?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2425 appropriating the $1,653,808 in grant funds received by the library and fire.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 24-25. Any comments on it?
Mayor Benetti, I just want to, I know that we filled a position, I believe, last year for our grant writer, and clearly that has paid off. So to your point, how strategic of our city manager and this council to do that and to receive so many funds. So well done to the team.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next item on the agenda is consideration to approve revised operation and maintenance intergovernmental agreement with Charleston Sanitary District. Jennifer.
Okay, thank you. The city of Coos Bay has been accepting and treating the municipal sewer generated from Charleston since 1964. The services the city provides to CSD includes maintenance, repair, operation, administration, and capital improvements for Plant 2. In 2019, 2 new intergovernmental agreements were created to account for the construction and operations and maintenance of the new Plant 2 treatment facility. Charleston's proportionate share of Plant 2 usually ranges from about 23 to 32%, and the reason for that variation is seasonal. But the calculations are based on a 12-year rolling average, or excuse me, 12-month rolling average. In 2022, council directed staff to coordinate with Charleston. Since then, quarterly meetings have occurred in which staff and Charleston representatives share information related to budget, permit challenges, capital projects, and operational information. These quarterly meetings have been instrumental in improving communication and planning efforts for both entities. During these meetings, it was learned that the current operation and maintenance IGA would benefit from 2 significant changes. The first change included changing the dates for calculating Charleston's proportionate share from calendar year to fiscal year. Since both entities operate on a fiscal year, this made sense. The second change is related to the way Charleston is billed for the treatment of sludge. Just as a reminder, sludge is the byproduct of wastewater treatment. The IGA did not recognize the sludge generated from Plant 2 is conveyed via force mains and gravity lines to Plant 1. Plant 2 has a meter installed so we can measure the amount that we're sending to Plant 1. The changed billing process in the IGA takes into account all contributions to the wastewater system as a whole for biosolids. It also accounts for the entire process of transferring the sludge to Plant 2 to the end product of biosolids. This includes the collection systems, primary treatment, digesters of Plant 1, the pipeline from Plant 1 over to the lagoon itself, and then the biosolids land application process. This new equation calculates Charleston's proportionate share, which is provided to Charleston in their monthly reports. Attached is the revised IGA for council's consideration to approve. The changes have been presented to Charleston, and they have no objections.
So the way we're being billed for the sludge, how would that be different than how we're going to do it now?
So before we had the new plant online, the old Plant 2 had their own digesters. So it was all incorporated, or it was accounted for. But because council approved the construction of the new Plant 2 and the consolidation of digesters over at Plant 1,
Sure.
that actually saves money for everybody.
Okay, so, all right. So the other thing, I guess, Melissa, since it's going to go from calendar to fiscal year, is that going to be a problem for the finance department? Okay. Any other questions, council?
So is it going to be less expensive for CSD?
No, they're just going to pay their proportionate share now.
Okay. So they weren't paying anything before?
They actually were. This just makes it formal and official.
Okay. And again, this has been discussed with them and they had no objections?
Correct.
Thank you.
That's another thing. We have a great relationship right now with Charleston Sanitary District, and that's not always been the case in the past, so I really commend the staff and the Charleston Sanitary District for a good working relationship on that. All right, council, comments or a motion, please?
I move to approve the revision to the intergovernmental agreement, sewer operations and maintenance services between the city of Coos Bay and the Charleston Sanitary District.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the revised operation and maintenance intergovernmental agreement with Charleston Sanitary District. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Since we have postponed addressing 5D and E, we'll go down to 5F. Consideration to approve the project management contract with HGE Architects, Inc. for the seismic rehabilitation of Eastside Fire Station, the grant we just were talking about. Mark?
Again, good evening, Mayor and Council. So the Eastside Fire Station was built back in 1954. The fire station provides a much-needed city presence within the Eastside neighborhood and houses equipment that is essential for public safety in the event that something were to happen to the Isthmus Slough Bridge that connects the Eastside neighborhood with the rest of the city. The southern Oregon coast is extremely vulnerable to the devastating earthquakes, such as a Cascadia subduction zone event. So with that in mind, staff applied for a seismic rehabilitation grant through Business Oregon for the structural stabilization of the fire station. The grant application was awarded, and City Council approved the acceptance of the seismic rehabilitation grant at the June 18th City Council meeting. Staff have been working with HGE, a local architectural firm with a history of successful projects within the city. HGE was instrumental in the grant research and application process. And the Coos Bay Fire Department would like to enter into an agreement or a contract with HGE Architects Incorporated as the project manager for the seismic rehabilitation of the Eastside Fire Station. As the project manager, HGE Architects would be responsible for coordinating the work of subcontractors and ensuring that the station rehabilitation stays on time and on budget. The $131,141 for the managing the project and a 10% contingency fund of a total of $144,255 is budgeted within the grant funding. Therefore, if it pleases the council, we ask that you approve the contract with HGE Architects Incorporated for the management of the Eastside Fire Station seismic rehabilitation project in the amount not to exceed $144,255.
When does this project start?
If all goes well and if it's approved, then we would collect bids from subcontractors in January. Work in essence would essentially start in February of 2025 and expected to be completed by October of 2025.
Great. Council, comments or questions or motion?
I move we approve the contract with HGE Architects, Inc. for the project management of the Eastside Fire Station seismic rehabilitation project in the amount of $144,255, which includes a 10% contingency.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve a project management contract with HGE Architects for the seismic rehabilitation for the Eastside Fire Station. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. 5G is consideration to approve a change order to the Pump Station 6 upgrade project. Jennifer?
Hi, thank you. The city is currently upgrading Pump Station 6 located at the northwest corner of Cruz Avenue and South 5th Street. At the time of design, it was assumed the wet well was in good working condition, but sometime between the evening of February 28th and the morning of February 29th, the wall of the wet well collapsed. No one was harmed, but it was damaged beyond repair. The engineer of work determined that due to observations discovered during the failure and geotechnical considerations, there is no way to repair this wet well such that it meets current seismic standards. So the design is complete. The Department of Environmental Quality has approved the design. The contractor, Pacific Excavation, has reviewed the design, and they've provided a lump sum contract amendment for approximately $1.6 million. However, Pacific Excavation didn't provide the necessary backup that they're contractually obligated. So at this time, staff and the Dyer Partnership, who's our engineer of work, we cannot confirm these numbers. So we are working with them on that. They are pulling that information together, and we anticipate receiving it sometime later this week. Also, the engineer did an estimate on this project based on their design, and their estimate was about 20% lower than the lump sum amendment provided to us by Pacific Excavation. The project has been on hold for almost 6 months. Pacific Excavation was planning on mobilizing August 19th, but will not mobilize without an approved addendum. Once the backup is provided, city staff and the engineer can negotiate the addendum, but due to a revised council meeting agenda, the next council meeting is not till September 3rd. This has the potential to cause almost a 3-week delay to the contractor, which the contractor will charge the city for. Understanding that this project must be completed, staff is requesting council provide the authority to staff to approve the original change order amount once the backup is provided, or negotiate to a lower cost change order. So there's some budget implications. Back in June, when we asked this body to approve the design amendment, some projects may need to be moved to next year. In looking at these 5 different categories, all within Fund 29, there are funds to cover this additional cost with PS6, but some of the planned projects either be moved to next year, or the project schedule will be modified such that the first half of the project commences this fiscal year and then is finished in the next fiscal year. Also, approximately $450,000 from the $1 million budget for emergency unplanned water quality projects will have to be utilized, leaving approximately $550,000 to cover any future emergency projects that may occur between now and June 30th. As a reminder, this council approved and budgeted for the expansion of the water quality collections team to start performing in-house water quality projects. That's in Fund 3. So the takeaway, while there may be less contracted capital projects completed this fiscal year because of the additional costs associated with Pump Station 6, there will be significant amount of I&I reduction projects, manhole repair, and storm and sewer point repair projects completed by the Water Quality Division. To that point, this year, 240 feet of sanitary sewer line have been replaced, 6 manholes have been repaired, 1 manhole has been removed and replaced, 350 feet of storm line have been replaced, 3 catch basins have been repaired, and 2 catch basins have been removed and replaced, and 3 new catch basins have been installed. So in conclusion, if council approves this funding strategy, Fund 29 can absorb the change order associated with the PS6 wet well, but less contracted capital work will be performed this fiscal year, and the emergency unplanned fund will be reduced approximately $550,000.
Okay. So even though you're very creative to make this work, you're definitely suggesting that we do this even though it's going to impact some projects this year, or at least this fiscal year.
We are in the middle of construction. We're currently bypass pumping now. That bypass pumping is costing us $17,000 a month. To stop and just delay this project, I think would just cost us more money. We are still negotiating this contract. This is kind of the worst case scenario, provided that the backup they give all lines up with the number that they originally provided us.
So this has been on hold for almost 6 months, is that correct?
That's correct, and we planned on it being on hold for 9 months, so we are ahead of schedule. So that's money we will save in bypass pumping.
And also, wasn't there, I'm trying to find it in here, that the contractor, there should be some costs associated with the delay? Is that true or not? We're not going to bypass or have any costs because of the delay on this with the contractor?
That 1.6 accounts for some of the delay costs.
Okay, so that's included?
Yes.
Okay.
The only question I would make is, thank you for your creativity. That's a lot of dollars that we were talking about, and I know you're bringing that strategy before us today. Going forward, can we get that in the information ahead of time so we can actually look at those numbers? Because I stopped, and you did a great job, and I appreciate your creativity. It's just hard to digest all that, so going forward, if we could have that ahead of time, I think it would be helpful, not only for me, but for other counselors as well.
That's fair.
Okay, thanks.
Troy?
So the wet well failure, was that related to any of the current construction?
It wasn't. What happened is, we had to draw down the wet well, and when we did that, we saw some cracks. So we decided, we talked to the engineer, and they directed us to fill those cracks in. And I think the pressure built, because it's very tidally influenced, and it failed. It was originally poured in sections, and those sections weren't doweled together. We had no way of knowing it. It wasn't shown that way on the as-builts.
Right. And again, great creativity, moving things around, because you're right. If we don't fix this, we can't move the plant construction forward. And that's costing us every day, right?
Correct.
But it does drop the contingency down to 500,000, again, correct?
The emergency unplanned, yes, it cuts it almost in half.
So what happens if we have another unforeseen?
So that's a good question. As long as it doesn't exceed $1 million, we do have $500,000 in contingency in Fund 3. And Fund 3 and Fund 29 is all funded from the city.
And I mean this with all due respect. I have not seen anything that's come out of this project that was less than $1 million.
We only originally had budgeted $1 million for emergency unplanned projects.
Okay.
So if we have to make that whole, we do have that ability.
And again, I don't know that we have a choice. I think we need to get this done. It has to move forward. And thank you for working around. But again, it's a lot of money, and it's kind of frustrating. It makes my back pocket shrink up a little bit. So, thank you.
No, I mean, the 500,000 for contingency is less than we'd like, but I think it's something doable. If not, there are other, funds that we can tap into, which we don't want to. Rainy day fund, that would be the last resort, and I would hate to see us even go down the road, and I hate to even mention it, but it's an option if all else fails, and I don't think that'll be the case. Hopefully, this will be something that will be the end of it. But I want also, I think it's important that we realize that because of the actions we've taken through staff's recommendation, we've put ourselves in a financial situation that we're able to do this. I can tell you in the past that was not the case. And so as much as I hate to see this kind of money spent, I know it's necessary, but also we have it at this time to do. So anyway, anyone else?
Thank you for the additional info. It is helpful. I mean, if you look at it like your personal budget, you want to be able to fix those things, but you also want to know that you're not going to not be able to buy groceries. So in a commercial situation, we do need to fix this, but we want to make sure we're not catastrophically limiting the city on other areas. So,
correct.
To your point, great planning, great strategy so that we have that. So when these things, unexpected things happen, we can take care of it.
Yeah, and I can tell you, when I go to the League of Oregon Cities meetings and also the mayors, I can tell you that we are unique in this situation. There are very few that are financially situated in what we are in this category, and so I think we're very fortunate. Stephanie, do you have a comment?
I was just going to say, again, to reiterate, thanks for the creativity. I think the concerns are well-founded. We're not even through the first month of the fiscal year. So I would also concur with the others about the concern that we have. We haven't even gotten to the wet season yet. So, but thank you for the work.
All right, so with that being the case, how would you like to move forward?
I move we authorize staff to expend up to $1,610,860 for the Pacific Excavation change order for the new wet well for Pump Station 6 upgrade project.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve a change order for the Pump Station 6 upgrade project. Is there any comments or other discussion? I just want one other thing that I think that's unique. When we did Plant 2, we took the sludge, and I don't know if you remember, there would be trucks coming through town with the sludge and going and putting in Plant 1, which would pump it over to the sludge lagoon in Eastside. And so when they did Plant 2, very creative, they set up a pipe that would take the sludge and pump it down to 1 and then over to Eastside. So those trucks don't come through town anymore. A cost savings and was something that was smart to do when we designed Plant 2. Anyway, sorry, just got to give the kudos when they deserved. Anyway, any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. All right, we're back to 5A. And we see Nicole's online, so she can participate in this one. And this is the consideration of the approval of general obligation bond ballot title. Approval would require adoption of Resolution 24-6. Nicole, you're on. Or Sammy, or however you want to do this.
Hopefully you can hear me.
We can?
Yes, perfect. So I guess I would start with this effort is a result of the council making decision in June about the location of the library. From that point, we gathered the library steering committee, began working with Hacker on some potential design ideas at that location. We've also brought our bond council on board. In today's dollars, that's a little bit different. So what we've presented to you is essentially a maximum of 30 million, and we will continue to source other funds. That has been provided to you in two different options, either with a 20-year bond option or a 30-year bond option. The 20-year results in $1.51 per thousand. General obligation bonded debt, and then the 30-year results in $1.21 per thousand. You'll see in the packet there's a bunch of other details that they've provided. They look at our assessed value, our outstanding debt, debt capacity, kind of all of those things. They compare what we have currently, which is just the fire station general obligation debt. It will be finished up in 28. So I guess at that point, if there's any questions, I think what we've presented is a maximum with the idea that we would, be sourcing other funds.
So I think we need to tell the story, Nicole, of how we came to this amount and how this has proceeded. We always talked about 28 to 30 million, but if I understand correctly, when you went and met with the architects and the library board a couple weeks ago, you came back and said it was something closer to 45 million. Am I correct?
That is correct.
So with that assumption, it was decided that that is way beyond the means of this community. This council and staff felt that was just something that we could not put out to the public. As much as we'd like, we need to stick within our means and be prudent of what's happening. And so the 30 million basically will build and replace what we have. It's not going to be much larger, if I understand correctly. It's just to replace what we have.
That's correct. And we have Hacker kind of helping us envision spaces that are going to be kind of multi-purpose, so that we are going to get some better usage of the space, even if it is the same square footage.
Nicole, wasn't this also going to be built in a way that you could phase out additional development if the funds came forward?
Correct. They will help us both do that in the immediate future. So if we do find some additional funding and we can build out, they will provide us with some design that gives us that opportunity. And then if that just doesn't come forward immediately, then we will have the ability to also build onto in the future if that's necessary.
Yes, for a little bit of history here, it was chosen, the downtown association, the downtown area was chosen for the site. And we went ahead and moved forward on that. And so when this came about, this extra cost because of whatever the case may be, multiple things, we had to make a decision since we decided to move forward on the downtown location and being on this November ballot, we had to, unfortunately, make a decision by August 16th. We have only one council meeting, which is tonight in August. So we have to make a decision if we want it on the November ballot. That's why it was decided just to put a flat amount of 30 million on it. That would give us the staff some flexibility with our architects to see what they can come up with. But anything more than that, anything else, they have to get a grant or they're going to have to get donations to take care of it. But this is something that will replace an existing building that's not going to last much longer. All right, Troy, I think you were on the committee. Do you want to add to that at all?
No, I think that's an appropriate description of what's going on. I think everyone on the library committee has worked tirelessly, so I'm fairly new to the process, so I don't have a lot of the background history. And they've worked with the frustration of thinking they had something only to find out that wasn't good enough or it wasn't accepted. I suppose my input has just been that libraries are still very relevant. Our library, the structure is failing, and we should replace it. And I don't think we should feel embarrassed about that. I think that we are a wonderful city, and we deserve a wonderful library. If I do have an outside comment, I just struggle with the amount of money that public facilities cost. I mean, I suppose it's an ideological conversation at that level, and I would like to try to stay away from that to some degree. But I made the comment to you that if I had $40 million, I could build an entire housing development and be pretty comfortable. So I'm not sure why it costs $30 million or $40 million to build a 30,000 square feet. I'm going to sidestep and just give some facts, then I'll step out. Average cost per square foot to build a residential house in this state is $300 a square foot. Average cost to build a commercial building, same single level, is $300 a square foot. 2 levels is about $500 a square foot, and for a high rise, it's $675 a square foot. My rough calculations, we're talking about a 30,000 square foot structure, correct? At
Did
30 million.
Did it get cut back when we did 30 million or not? Do we know?
It is, I do believe we are going to be looking at a little bit less square footage. We also will be, initial estimates previously were to put a parking garage on the lower. We are looking at something different than that, which will also save us some dollars, so.
Great. So if we take just generally the original 30,000 square foot building at $30 million, that's $1,000 a square foot. And there's a part of me that says that feels like that is a municipal price, right? That's like the local government price. And I have trouble wrapping my head around that. We do deserve a library, but we also do want to be fiscally responsible. Our community can't just toss dollars out there. I'll check out, like I said. It's an ideological frustration. I have trouble understanding all the time why everything costs so much. And then we wonder why the citizens who are struggling to make their monthly budget get upset because, we're spending all this, what they consider frivolous money. So, thank you.
I think we heard from the citizens that the preferred site was the downtown site. And I think with the downtown site, there is more expense. We are in a flood zone, so we would have to drive pilings. And what I want to commend, I want to commend the library board because they have, as Tori, you so eloquently said, they have worked tirelessly. And you're right, this city does deserve a library. $45 million was hard to swallow, and so while I'm disappointed that we can't build what we originally hoped for, I think we have heard also from the citizens that they want us to build within our means. And I think that's a reasonable request as long as we have opportunities to phase future buildings so we can potentially get all of those things that we want. So I commend the staff and I commend the board. We've been having this conversation since I've been on council since 2016, and I know, Kurt, you've been having this conversation long before then. So hopefully this is the one, and the citizens will agree, and we will have, come November, a new library.
Other council comments? I know, Drew, you served on the board, so did you, Carmen?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's good to see it moving forward. I think 30 mil is a good number. When we went out for the public survey, downtown was the most popular by virtue of being downtown. By price, the ocean was, and the ocean was just over 28 point something million, with the downtown being 35 on that. So I think 30 is close enough to the spot that was both price acceptable and also the favored location. And making up that difference somehow is going to have to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen at all if we don't find a way to accept that challenge of making the difference. It's not going to get voted for if we put it on for 35. In terms of price for construction, I'd figure Davis-Bacon factors in there. It's got to have the wheelchair floors, and it's just public building is wonderful. DHS down in Brookings just built a new building. And I've been helping out BA, and they got a contract for it. And we learned that they have 17 bathroom stalls, and each stall has a $20,000 door system because it's got some kind of system for a lockdown for an OD. So the things they're working into public construction get $20,000 toilet seats,
Any other council comments? So, Sammy, Carmen.
I just wanted to chime in and say I like the direction that we're going with this, and yeah, it's expensive, but I think we're striking a good balance with moving forward, and I really do hope we can find some grants or some potential sideline funding that'll help us get to a greater level without taxing the community even more. And we're seeing these numbers fluctuate how long have we been talking about this library? It's like 10 years now? I don't remember
Yeah.
how long.
It's been
Before I
long,
was
well,
on council.
2016 since we've been on, some of
Yeah.
this new council, and then prior to that, it's been going on, so I don't know, for quite a while.
So I know the question's gonna come up, why does the price keep going up and up and up and up? Well, it's just the same thing that's happening across the board in terms of commodities and general materials. Things just continue to rise, and we're trying to catch up to it, and hopefully we can make the decision, lock in a price, and get this done as soon as possible. So that's all I have.
Okay, Sammy?
And Nicole did a great job of summarizing it, so unless anybody else has any other questions.
Well, I just know that, this is not something that we all wanted, or you wanted, for a library, but I think it'll replace what we have, and then hopefully, there'll be grants available showing if we can get this $30 million bond passed, levy passed, that would be helpful with getting other grants that maybe we can continue on. So I think we need to reiterate, this needs to be done seismically, which had an expense, and also flood-proof, so that both those items have to be done to this library and this facility. And there's no option. We do not have an option to go any other way. It has to be done. So, Kurt, go ahead.
I was just going to make a comment too, and it's going to be very short. Libraries are not obsolete. This is a community building, and the longer we wait to take care of this, the more expensive it is going to get. This needs to go on the ballot. We need to have good information going out to the public because they are not obsolete. It is important to this community. I just had someone that surprised me came up and said, I used it to check out some things that I didn't know if they were going to work for me, and they did. This is more than just a library. It's a community building. And we've seen the cost of what we looked at downtown in 2016 and how that has grown exponentially, the price tag. So the longer we wait, the more expensive it's going to get.
Kurt, you've been around for a long time on this. Do you want to make any comments about the process and where we're at? Or you're just...
Sure.
Yes, please. Congratulations on being reappointed. Thank you for stepping up and wanting to be on the board again.
Yeah, all right. Well, Kurt Benward, Coos Bay. It's a lot of money. Troy's right. There's some inherent expenses in building downtown. Part of it's foundational because you're building in a flood zone that has a lot of fill. There used to be a slough where the library is. It was probably not the best place to build it when it was originally built. So there's extra money there, probably less than $1 million. Originally it was about 800,000, if my estimate is right, but it's around there. There's an additional expense because we're building downtown because we have to move the books out and the staff out, find temporary space while the building's being built in that site, and then move the books and the staff back in. And Sammy can correct me, but I think the estimated cost for that's about $2.5 million. So downtown is probably anywhere from $3.5 to $4 million more expensive than building it somewhere else. But I understand that the public really wants it downtown, and so that's kind of where we're at. The other difficulty too is, it's just not structurally that the building is failing. There's a lot of things that are going on with the building besides that. You're probably well aware that the heating and ventilation system is crap. You can't find parts for it. You can't repair it. If you walk in the library on a hot day, there's a lot of fans that are going on and a lot of people that are getting sweaty. It's a problem. We know that we have dug up the sewer line behind the library a couple of times. It runs across the street behind it because there's been difficulties with that building moving, and so it's had to be dug up and replaced. When the building was built, it wasn't built for today's technology. So there aren't sufficient electrical outlets, there's not sufficient computer space, there's a lot of things going on with that. So yes, the building's structurally failing, so it needs to be replaced, but there's a lot of other issues that need to be addressed as well. So you're not just replacing the building, you're making a better building. I know it's going to be a hard sell, but I'm not into the politics of it. I just know what the library needs. So thank you for supporting it the way that you have all these years, and we'll see what happens. Okay, thanks,
Kurt.
Kurt, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you know if the committee will, in their communications, will they communicate the fact that the hard decision was made that we are going to only appoint's not the right word, but allocate 30 million, and so we are going to phase this? Because I think it's important for the citizens to recognize that tough decisions were made to build this.
I mean, the whole thing is educating people about what's going on with the library and what needs to be done as part of that. You know, there are going to be some people out there that, you know, whether it's 40 million or 30 million, basically don't think that they can afford that and will vote against it. You know, yeah, it really was around 45 million, and it really was a little bit bigger. The big expense that was removed was the parking garage underneath. And that was there partly because it alleviated some problems with the flood zone and some other things. So realize that although I think flood zone wise it'll be okay, but if we have the big one with the tsunami, there's going to be issues with the building. Right? And seismically, it's going to be structured, and again, I can get corrected, Nicole can correct me or Sammy. Seismically, it's going to be constructed so that people are not going to get injured if we have the big one that are inside the building. But it's not going to be like, the one that was going to be out at Tapas Park was supposed to be not only not get people injured, but be totally survivable to be used as an emergency shelter. And of course, there's no sense to do that down in a tsunami zone where there's going to be water, you know, to make it an emergency center. So anyways, that certainly can be part of the discussion, to realize that there was really a lot of tough choices made, and even though $30 million sounds like a lot, the architects came back with an awful lot. And I will tell you, they update the, and again, Sammy and Nicole, correct me, they updated the escalation costs from the original estimate that was done for the Tapas Park place to almost 10%. I think it's 9.9%. So that escalation fee is in there as well. You know, assuming if something goes wrong in the building, they'll be able to cover it. And that's on top of, I think, a contingency fee as well. So there's a lot of money in the ifs, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. That being the case, if I understand correctly, Nicole, we have to decide on a 20-year or a 30-year bond. Is that right?
Correct.
So, council, that is the discussion. The 20-year bond is $1.51 a thousand, or the 30-year is $1.21 a thousand. So we need to decide which route you would like to put on the bond for a vote.
I'm sorry, Mayor, what were the $2 values?
So the 20 years, $1.51, and 30 years, $1.21. Is that correct, Nicole? Or Melissa?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So
Yes.
can I ask a follow-up question? Is there, I'm not as familiar with bonds as I should be, is there an interest cost to us? If we go the 30-year, we carry it another 10 years, is there an increased interest rate? I mean, do we make up that difference in the per 1,000 square foot? Does that make sense?
Yes, so roughly makes sense. We will end up paying more. I mean, the community will pay more if we go out 30 years. That there's a lot of ifs still here. We can say we're going to do 30 million, but then we have to take that package out to the market. So what that interest rate looks like is an estimate right now. A 20-year versus a 30-year, it is a little more, but it's going to be less on the backs of taxpayers, that 10-year gap. So just rough numbers, that 20-year on a $300,000 assessed value, and let's remember we're talking assessed value versus real market value. So a $300,000 assessed value, that's roughly a $450 a year cost increase. And At the 121, same thing, $300,000 assessed value, roughly about a 360 a year cost.
So about $100 a year more, but 10 years longer.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, council? Does staff have a recommendation, or are you just going to let us decide, Nicole?
I'll just shoot out my opinion.
Yes.
I would much rather pay 20 years and pay a lot less interest if it was going to cost me $100 more, but I'm not paying an extra $5 million in overall costs. That's my 2 cents.
And I guess the other thing that we will also want to be communicating, this council and staff have worked pretty hard in the last 5 years in refinancing some of our debt issuances. And we'd be looking to that. So we'd want to model a finance arrangement that would give us that opportunity so that we could potentially reduce the rates. You know, interest rates are just high right now. So it's possible we could call the bonds early. I mean, we'd want to be watching for that. So I would add that as well. And that's where I would maybe recommend we look at that 20 years. So we're walking in the best possible we can, with the idea that we'd want to have an opportunity to look at refinancing that.
So Nicole, sorry, I should address myself, I guess,
No.
so just conversational. But what are the bond interest rates right now? 5-6%?
I don't have that pulled up in front of me. I think that's close. I think that's what they're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, looking at just the difference in the total interest you would pay over the longevity, I would think 20 years over the 30, at least. Maybe I'm on the wrong page, but I'm looking at PDF page 8 of the levy analysis, and the total interest under 20 is showing 23 mil, but the total interest under 30 is showing 44 mil.
Yeah, that's
So
a lot.
if I'm reading that accurately, I would definitely be inclined towards 20 years, because it saves you more than 20 million.
So we have Councilor Cribbins that believes 20 years is the way to go, and I think Drew does also. The rest of the council?
I refer back to buying my first car. I tried to get the payment lower by going longer. And boy, I did learn a lot from that. Makes sense, and I have always looked at the long term when I make those decisions for things that I'm financing. So, you know, the one side of me says, yeah, let's do the 20-year. That's the responsible thing to do, honestly. But I don't know that everybody looks at it that way. I think a lot of times the people who are new to financing, things like that, when things are tight, look at what they can afford in a year. So I think we need to take that into consideration when we look at this. Especially, it's hard to look 30 years out. I mean, you're talking, most homeowners that are buying a home are looking 30 years. Cars, they're up to 8 years now. I think people are financing to get the costs down. I know that didn't answer where I think we should go, but I think I have to say it at least. We need to think about it because these are the people that are going to be paying for it long term.
I appreciate your comments, Councilor Kilmer. I go back to that car though, because I made that choice on my first car as well, thinking that was the best thing to do. And while it's difficult, I think given the savings with going with the 20-year, to your point, it is the most responsible thing that we can do as a council. So I would propose doing the 20-year.
All right, so it sounds like everyone's pretty much in agreement on the 20 years. Sarah? Okay. Carmen?
Yeah, I agree with the 20 as well. I think I'd like to pay this within my lifetime and not pass it on to my daughter, so.
All right. Okay, so that being the case, Nicole, so how do we move forward on this resolution with a 20-year bond?
I think that you can just, if it needs to be modified specific language, then we can note that in your action, you know.
So does this resolution in here say, does it reference 20 or 30 years, one or the other? Does it?
I'm looking.
It looks like it says $1.51 per 1,000 assessed value, so I believe that is the 20-year.
Yeah, that'd be the 20 years. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the bond may not be issued for a series more than 21 years, yeah.
So we just need to pass the resolution tonight?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, but first add for Carmen, the 30 years better also be within your lifetime, because I'm not that much younger than you. So I'll move we approve the proposed ballot title and adopt Resolution 24-26, providing for addition of a general obligation bond measure to be added to the November 5th, 2024 ballot.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 24-26. With that being said, can we make sure that the wording is going to indicate on the ballot measure is what we want? We don't want any mix-ups this time, so can we make sure that we check that with the county clerk to make sure that what we have on there will be what we have indicated?
So the wording that is there is what we would propose to move forward, and that is from our bond counsel.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
advised from them.
that we just make sure that we check that's what's going to be on there.
If I remember correctly, I thought it referenced the existing location. Am I making that up, or does anyone remember that in the?
It's right here.
Yeah,
It's in the
does.
background.
And this
It's
is
in the
summary.
background, correct. And in the summary on the exhibit to the resolution, it does say, this new library replaces the existing structurally failing library on Anderson Avenue.
Right. And then at the end here, it says $1.51 per thousand. The bonds may not be issued in series for not more than 21 years.
Yeah.
That's the summary part. All right, so that being the case, any other comments or discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Nicole?
Real quick,
Yes, Carmen.
real quickly, as I'm reading this, it doesn't make it clear to me that it's being installed in the Anderson area. It just, to me, when I read that, I say it replaces the existing structure failing library on Anderson Avenue, meaning that's where the failing library is, but where is it going? So I would like to hopefully update that.
Yes, we can work on that.
Okay, good.
So will that go back out to us to review? I know we don't have much time.
You guys will need to make a decision tonight because we need to publish a notification. So I would recommend that we, if you are have a preference in language, that we kind of get to that tonight, or that you give us some guidelines on what you would like that to say.
So Carmen, if you don't mind, do we have a motion and second on this already?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not paying attention, obviously. So Carmen, what kind of wording did you want? Can you go ahead and make a motion to revise 2450 with, is that the correct term?
Pardon me, Mayor, don't we have to vote on that and have it fail and then reinstitute a new motion?
Do you suppose I could change my motion to maybe include wording? They could work with Carmen, I suppose, or one of the counselors on ensuring that it is clear this is at the same current site.
I don't know if we can do that. Don't we have to make sure the wording is correct now before we pass this resolution?
Why don't
Nate?
we vote on it and fail it?
Okay.
And then have this discussion.
You're passing a resolution that has the wording in it.
Okay, so,
Modify it, but you modify it.
all right, so if we want to change the wording, I would suggest when I call for the question that we vote no. But that being the case, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no? No.
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 All right, so now, Carmen, you want to go ahead and make a motion to this resolution with the change to the summary, or
And-
to the ballot measure?
And right now, how many words are we at on this resolution? I'm rough estimating probably 170, we only have 175 words.
175 words.
And we're there,
We're at 175?
pretty close. 22 a line. It's the news person in me.
What about this new library replaces the existing library, which is structurally failing on Anderson Avenue? Does that add any more clarity?
Yeah, I think so.
That's 2 words I added.
How about instead of on Anderson, at Anderson Avenue?
That's good. I like that.
And punctuation matters. Maybe do we need the librarian to?
All right, so are we are we within the 175 words with what we added? And what did we add?
Question. When this goes on the ballot, it's going to show the action requested followed by a summary, correct?
Correct.
And the summary says, the city council selected the current downtown location of 525 Anderson Avenue as the site for the new library. That's going to be there, right?
No,
No.
Okay.
sorry. Exhibit A is what will be the bond title, and the summary that's on Exhibit A,
Okay.
not the staff report.
Honestly, I think literally if we just change this new library replaces the existing structurally failing library at the location of Anderson Avenue or at Anderson Avenue. It's just wordsmithing that a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think that does help.
At or at location?
At current.
Where we have the new library replaces the existing structurally failing library at Anderson or at, oh, never mind, at Anderson then, right?
At Anderson Avenue.
So we've got about 2 words distance of flexibility because the current writing is 173 words.
Well, if we just change library from on to at, right?
Okay.
Well, yeah, but we haven't changed anything. And I liked Counselor Cribbins. I mean, in this case, I'm happy to be redundant if everyone understands. So you said at the current location. I think current would be helpful.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Where are we going to put current?
So at current location, I'm adding 3 words, of Anderson Avenue.
If you
And
had,
said and is, just say which is. Oh, no, that's, sorry, I'm not saving a word there. Stephanie, can you jump in, the news person?
At this new library replaces the existing structurally failing library.
At Anderson.
At the existing oh, we already have existing in there.
yes. And you're at 173 words.
Maybe we're trying too hard. When I
I
read it,
counted
it's pretty clear to me that
166,
it's
true.
at the place.
We're competing on our word count.
As the way it's written, when I read it, it said, I would immediately think it's going to be right where the old one was.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Carmen, does that work for you?
All right, so all we're going to change on this new resolution is at instead of on, right?
I think that does help.
Great.
All right, so we
Very
need a motion
encouragement.
for this resolution, 24-6. Changing the word on to at in the summary.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. All right. Thank you, everyone. And now we got to get to work and publicize it, and hopefully we'll see what the voters say. All right. Next item is we're at, I don't believe Nicole wants to do her comments this evening, and so we're going to bypass that, and we'll go to council comments. Okay, council comments. We're going to start with Drew.
Sure. So glad to see the library moving forward. I was on the library board for a year prior to being on council, so that pushes it at least back as far as 2015. I think it's got a good chance, the way it's written, or the best chance it has. Just to encourage consideration as well, though, that yeah, you'll get a groan, but I'm out in November. If this doesn't pass, there's going to need to be some kind of contingency plan, and yeah, I'm not useful for that part. Also, let folks know Pride in the Park went well. That was at its usual spot in North Bend near the Skyline Baptist Church, the park there. This was the first year we had protesters. They came from Roseburg and Grants Pass out here, but we didn't have any local ones, so that was nice. All went fairly well. The de-escalation team did well. It was just, I get folks that ask why it's important to have Pride events, and it's the fact that you can be visible now, essentially. There was a great period of time where it just wasn't acceptable to be visible if that was your life. Even within the military, within my lifetime while I was in the military, there was an extension where it was not okay to be visible. So that's why those things are important. Yep. And that's what I got.
I assume I'm next. Thank you, Mayor Benetti.
Absolutely.
I want to thank Drew and Mayor Benetti for attending the Pride event. I couldn't because we had our annual food truck event, and I want to thank Councilor Kilmer, who represented the city as a judge. We also had Councilor Garboden from North Bend, so thank you. I know that was 3 days of a lot of food, and so we appreciate all of your efforts. That event is near and dear to my heart and many others because half of the gate goes to the Boys and Girls Club, so it's a fundraiser for them. I just want to thank Greg and the team, and they're all gone, but I think one of the things that Jennifer's here and Jim's here, and I know it's a whole group of people. We talk about how great that is for the citizens to have the East Side boat ramp open, but we didn't talk about the fact that the dollars it represents for the tourists that come into this community and the economic impact that is to restaurants and hotels and gas stations. And so I just really want to commend the staff for their commitment to getting that project done so quickly and so efficiently. And that is all I have.
All right, Stephanie?
I just wanted to say that it was probably one of the toughest jobs I've ever had to do was judge. Very good food, great event. If you did not have anything, were worried about not having anything to do this weekend, it was your own fault because there was a lot going on. But kudos to the Mill Casino and that event, well attended and a lot of things going on. Appreciate the offer and happy to represent the city. I'm still full. Also, just to mention, as the liaison to the Coos Bay Downtown Association, there is a downtown cleanup work party that will be happening Saturday, August 17th, and that is the week before the Blackberry Arts Festival. That cleanup work party takes place from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and some of the items that you'll need for that cleanup are being provided, including the little picker-uppers, thanks to FARS partnering with the Downtown Association on that. So August 17th from 10 to 1. That's all I have.
Sarah?
Yeah, I have been contacted more in the last 2 weeks about city questions than my entire time on the council, and there was two main things. One was the boat ramp. And so thank you. I know citizens were really happy to hear about access for the upcoming fishing season. The second is about the fence, the temporary fence that was put up on Anderson and 4th. And I just was hoping Nicole could make a public comment about that.
Sure, I'm happy to. So I guess I would first start with that we have that piece of property out for proposals, hoping to find, highest and best use to have that property put into development. The fencing helps preserve that space so that it's ready to be walked if there is a developer who's wanting to come and check it out. We, of course, have to follow the same rules we have everybody else to follow, and temporary fencing is allowable within our code, and all of the permitting and all of that has to be done as well. If we land at a point where we don't believe we're going to get any proposals, we'll have to contemplate that fence coming back down, but we are going to reinitiate interest, hopefully. I think Chelsea and Alina have been working on some ideas to hopefully get some greater interest on that property. So I don't know if that handles the questions you may have. If there's something I missed, happy to try again.
So I'll add in a little bit. So it's really, because I've had some phone calls on the same thing and saw some posts on social media, and I told them to call me, and we did. We had a discussion today, in fact. So it's a construction fence, basically, and that's what I told them. And so exactly, we're following the same criteria that we would expect anyone else to follow. Hopefully we get a developer to go in there. It's set up for them to start developing it and building it out. And also it takes care of a need. The chief can address it at the moment. We have a public resource officer that can use his time. And the other officers that I've seen there are multiple times, even though it's been very good and taken care of, they can use her time in other areas that are necessary, like Empire and whatever else. But again, if we don't find a developer, which I hope we do, to build something that's suitable for this community, then we will have to figure something else out. But our other alternative was to build the fence like we have expected with the wrought iron black one, which would have been, I don't know, $300,000 or more. I can't see that being a case where we would want to expend taxpayers' money on that when we can do this in this case. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with the decision. I just know that there's been a lot of
Sure.
questions, so wanted to have it on public record so folks can refer to that. I also just want to commend city staff for all the grants. I know that that's extra, and some of the activities, both big and small, but they all matter. The access to feminine hygiene products for the library grant is amazing and thoughtful, and I appreciate library staff for thinking about that, and then providing additional activities for teens to feel connected to their family and build resiliency. Really well thought out, and you obviously have some passionate staff, so thanks for that.
Troy.
Budgets are difficult. We all have personal budgets. Maybe you have a professional budget. We all try to manage those the best we can. The city staff, I think, does an amazing job with budgets. Council, mayors, they come and they go. The staff members are taxed with, holding our hands, teaching us, working us through the processes. At home budget, you might have a fund for housing, groceries, insurance, etc. And you can kind of move those funds back and forth. And so sometimes I think the general public sees this large dollar amount out there and says, well, why don't you just move some of that money over here to take care of that? And on face value, that sounds like a great idea. The difficulty is that's not how government works. There are many things that are line item for specific uses or nothing at all. And the staff is challenged with trying to make that work. And I think they do an excellent job with what they have. You can have the discussion, is that the right way it should be, or should it be that involved? But that's a different discussion, and those problems aren't solved at our level. Our level is taxed with managing what we're giving to the best of our ability, with, much like your personal budget, of trying to make your life better. And we are taxed with trying to manage this budget to make our city better the best we can. And those decisions are not always easy. But I know everyone up here truly cares about what they're doing and volunteers their time to make Coos Bay, the best that we can. I was going somewhere and I completely lost my train of thought.
But we're with you.
Yeah, we do it all the time. I do it all the time with my train of thought.
It's not coming back. So at 10 o'clock tonight, it'll pop out and you'll miss it, but it'll be great. So, thank you.
All right, Carmen?
Oop, there it is. Computer errors. Well, yeah, I want to echo everybody's support of the library. I know it's a big ask for our community, but it is kind of a central pillar to a good community. I think that that's been well documented, and it's been consistent throughout our community's history, but many others as well. And the face of libraries are changing, and the way that libraries are interacting with communities are changing. We hear about it all the time. Sammy and her staff just do an amazing job of bringing all kinds of programs. We should probably get an update maybe next meeting on how many programs were in the last month or the last 2 months, because it is absolutely staggering. And I know I like to engage in those or get my daughter into some of those as well, and it's a invaluable resource that we really need to have. So I hope that people can look at this as an investment in their community and not just something that they have to pay, but it is something we have to pay for, and we understand that. So we hope that you'll join us in supporting the library. I also wanted to just jump on and say I was also attending the Pride at the Park this weekend, and I had a great time there, and was honored to be invited as a city councilor. So it was a lot of fun, and Drew, I think you really nailed it with your explanation as to why these events are important, and I know I couldn't have said it better, so thank you for doing that. I'm also really excited for the cleanup that's coming up downtown, getting ready for festival season. We got Blackberry Arts going on, and I believe, so that's coming up at the end of the month on the 24th and 25th. I'm really excited for that. And Music on the Bay is starting, I think, this week. So Thursday night, Mingus Park, should be really fun. It's kind of the closing part of the season, the summer season, and this is always a fun time for me. So I hope everybody gets out and enjoys the park and the downtown, and just has a place to gather and gets to see what everybody's up to. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen. Lucinda, you had a few more things?
Yeah, I apologize. A couple weeks ago, I called city staff to let them know that I had a snag in my backyard, and they needed to come out and remove a portion of it because I thought it was going to fall. They were wonderful and came out, and I was informed that snag was actually on my property, so I had to take care of it. And I was also informed that I really needed to have a more defensible barrier on my property for safety reasons. So I was a responsible citizen and paid the $600 to have those items taken care of. As I think many of you know, I'm sorry I didn't preface it with I am in Empire Lakes, backed up against Empire Lakes. So it made me think, $600 is a lot of money, and if we're asking citizens to do that, then I'm going to challenge the staff to look for grants to get the rest of the park taken care of. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in John Toppett's Park, and so my challenge to the staff is, I've done my work in this instance, so since we have an amazing grant writer who seems to get lots of dollars for us, I'm challenging the staff to do so. And thank you for coming out so quickly. And I honestly blame my late husband. The reason the snag is in the backyard, I have 5 of them, and it's all for bird habitat. So it's still there. So thanks. The second thing, I know it's not in our city, but Liberty Pub will be closing. I think their last night will be August of service will be August 11th, and I just want to commend them for the many years that they've taken care of all of us, for the commitment to the Oregon Coast Music Association, and sorry to see them close, but just want to thank them for the many wonderful years of service that they provided this community.
Thanks. So I also...
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I remembered.
Good.
Quit laughing and talk. What I was going to say was to round out that discussion about budgets, and I realize it's tough, and that costs continue to grow, and while reimbursement or salaries or incomes don't. In my industry, healthcare, costs this last year have increased 14%, while revenues increased 11%. That's just not a sustainable number. And I know that's the same way in your personal finance, where the cost of gas, housing is going up, but your salaries are not going up. And it's the same thing with city funding or public funding, is the cost of everything continues to go up, but those revenue dollars coming in are not maintaining that same thing. So it's a continual challenge. Again, that was just a roundup that is difficult, and I appreciate the staff's effort in working and trying to be as creative as possible to try to get us to do the things we need to do to make this a better place. Done. That was not bad, right?
Thank you. All right, so I also had the privilege of attending the Pride in the Park event on Saturday with Carmen and Drew, and as they both said, it was a great event, good energy, and it was great to be there and an honor to be there. Also, we have there's a backpack giveaway that's being done with 1,000 backpacks will be given away, and it's being done by Papa, Philly, and the Bubba Dogs. They're going to give 1,000 backpacks away. They're taking donations at Pony Village to for these events, and when they come to pick up these backpacks, they will all be also serving hot dogs. So I just want to let that be known, and Nicole, I'm hoping that we can probably get this put in the Friday update. Before I forget, it's easier just to tell you right now. The other thing is the food truck off at been mentioned. Stephanie was a judge, and Lucinda also mentioned it. It was a wonderful event. I enjoyed it, and they had a great band, and in fact, it was so good, I went back the second day. So anyway, thank you for all that. I want to remind everyone that, National Night Out is tonight. Is that right, Chief? And then Empire and in Eastside. And can you tell us, give us a little brief history about why that happens and what goes on? And unfortunately, it's always on a Tuesday night when we have a council meeting.
Yeah, it is. And so there is one going on tonight in Empire, as you mentioned, and East Side. And it's an opportunity for the communities to get together. They usually serve hot dogs, hamburgers, a time to meet your neighbor. Generally, law enforcement comes, fire usually responds, and sometimes other city staff show up, and it's just an opportunity to meet your neighbors and get to know your people within your small community.
Yeah, and I want to thank both those communities for having this. It's really wonderful. I've been able to attend one, I think, and maybe we'll get another night that's not on the council meeting. But anyway, Thank you.
Yeah.
I also want to remind everyone that I will be at the library tomorrow night. It's to meet and talk, and this is an opportunity for anyone to come, and it's at 6 p.m. tomorrow at the library to have any item and discussion. I know that we don't always have opportunity here to hear all those discussions and concerns that the citizens have, so this is an opportunity to show up. Please do and bring any questions. It's been great interaction with the citizens, and so I'm hopefully have a good turnout tomorrow night. Also, we had the Mayor's Walk in East Side. We started at the fire station. Scott was there, along with our chief and some other citizens, and it was nice to be able to walk and talk and answer some questions and discussions. Scott was asked some questions, what he would do if he was elected on council. It was nice to hear what his thoughts were. And so it's important that we do this and continue on. So the next one, and Mayor Engelke was there, and so now we alternate. So in North Bend, on August 19th, which is a Monday, we'll be at the North Bend boat ramp, and we'll be having another walk and discussion with the citizens. Anyway, I want to thank everyone tonight, all the staff for all the hard work. A lot went in tonight's meeting, and everyone for attending. So I'll adjourn the meeting. There is no urban elite meeting this afternoon, or this evening. Thanks. Have a good evening.